You know how people always say blood is thicker than water? Yeah. That phrase used to mean something to me. Used to. My name's Celeste Monroe. I'm 36. I live alone now in a quiet cul-de-sac just outside Linden Grove, Colorado. It's the kind of place where lawns are trimmed, mailboxes polished, and neighbors wave but don't get too close. I like that. Quiet. Predictable. Safe. I used to be married. I used to believe in doing the right thing. I used to think if you showed up for others, they'd show up for you. That belief? It almost destroyed me. Let me rewind. I work as a senior manager at a boutique design firm. Long hours, high stress, but I like the control. I built this life from scratch, my house, my job, my routines. Everything in its place. Nothing left to chance. I had my boundaries, my lists, my rules. The only soft spot I had was for family. So when my younger sister, Marissa, called me in the middle of the night crying, I answered. Her voice was shaky like she'd just finished screaming into a pillow. Celeste. I lost my job. The company folded. And I've been sick. Really sick. The doctor said it's West Nile virus. At first I didn't even react. I just froze. The kind of freeze where your body forgets what to do but your heart starts racing. West Nile? My mind immediately imagined hospital beds in 4 drips. She was my sister, damn it. We weren't best friends, hadn't been since we were kids, but she was blood. And when blood calls out for help, you answer. Our parents had long since retired to Arizona, chasing golf courses and warm weather. They couldn't help. And Marissa? She didn't have close friends. Never did. She was always more of a social chameleon, blending in when it benefited her, then disappearing when things got hard. Still. I told her to come. I opened my door, my house, my life. She arrived 2 days later, paler than I remembered, thinner too. Her eyes were sunken, lips dry, and she moved like she was underwater. I rearranged the guest bedroom, canceled some in-office meetings, worked remote more often just to be there. I cooked her meals, made tea, drove her to her checkups. Thank you, she said one night, barely whispering. I don't deserve this. I looked at her and smiled, even though I hadn't slept properly in days. It's nothing. Just rest. What I didn't say was, I'm doing this because no one else will. She was with me for nearly 2 months. Slowly she began to recover. Her color came back. She started cooking again. Light conversations turned into laughter. And a strange part of me, a fragile, hopeful part, thought this could be a reset for us. A second chance at being sisters. I didn't notice it at first. The way she lingered around my things. The questions about my salary. The interest in how much the house cost. This place must have been expensive, she said one morning, sipping coffee like it was just small talk. I worked for it, I replied, laughing. Still making payments. It's not all mine yet. She gave a small smile. But her eyes, there was something else in them. A flash of calculation. I caught it, and ignored it. Because that's what you do when you love someone. Then came the day everything shattered. It was a Friday. Just after 5 p.m. I came home exhausted, still in my heels, carrying a bag full of samples for a client presentation. As I stepped into the living room, I saw them, Marissa sitting upright on the couch, hair curled, makeup subtle but precise. And beside her, Grayson, my husband. His skin looked like it had been drained of blood. Eyes down, mouth tight. The whole room felt wrong. What's going on? I asked, trying to laugh off the nausea rising in my throat. Marissa glanced at him, then stood. I need to tell you something, she said. I knew. I didn't know the details, but I knew. I'm pregnant, she whispered. The room blurred. My ears rang. But one question clawed its way out of my throat. Whose? She didn't say it. She just looked at Grayson. He didn't meet my eyes. Didn't say a word. The silence said everything. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd it twisted reality. So let me get this straight, I said. While I was at work, paying bills, bringing you soup, you two were playing house? Celeste, Grayson finally said, standing. I didn't mean. Don't. I cut him off. My voice was calm. My hands were shaking. I can't live here with this tension, Marissa said, tears welling up, crocodile tears, perfectly timed. I think maybe you should find somewhere else to stay for a while. So Grayson and I can. She didn't finish. I took 3 steps toward them. Every footstep felt like I was walking into a new version of myself. One I hadn't met before. You want me to leave my own house? It's just for now, she whispered. This baby. Don't say baby like it's a shield, I snapped. Like it's a get-out-of-jail-free card. They just stood there. 2 deer in headlights. Two cowards pretending to be confused by the storm they created. I walked upstairs, packed a small bag, grabbed my house deed, bank documents, my safe key, then came back down. I placed it all on the coffee table. This house is mine, I said. Every brick, every screw, every memory, paid for, signed and sealed by me. Celeste, Grayson said softly, don't do this. You did this, I whispered. Both of you. And then with every ounce of calm I had left, I looked them both in the eyes and said, you've got 1 hour to leave, or I call the cops. No screaming, no crying, just facts. They had betrayed me under my roof, and now they'd pay for it, but not like they thought. Not just with eviction, not just with shame. No, I would take something deeper, something permanent, because this was just the beginning. I always thought rock bottom would feel like falling, but it doesn't. It's silence, stillness, like someone hit pause on your life and forgot to press play again. The night I kicked Marissa and Grayson out, the house felt haunted. Not by ghosts but by everything that used to feel like home. Their laughter, the clink of dishes, the warmth I used to believe in, gone. And me? I didn't cry. I couldn't. My body was done producing tears. I stood in the middle of the living room staring at the indent their bodies had left on the couch. One cushion still smelled like his cologne, bergamot and betrayal. I ripped it off and tossed it into the trash. The next few days blurred together. I didn't tell anyone. Not my parents, not my coworkers. I went to work, smiled when I had to, nodded in meetings. But inside, I was burning. People always say revenge is ugly, that it makes you bitter. But I don't think those people were ever humiliated in their own home. I wasn't bitter. I was focused. On the third morning I stood in front of the mirror in my bedroom, tracing my reflection with cold eyes. Same brown hair. Same soft cheekbones. But there was something new. An edge. A coldness under the surface. I touched my skin like it belonged to someone else. Someone who'd been buried under wife, sister, caretaker. Someone I hadn't met yet. But now, she was wide awake. I started making changes. Step 1. I pulled every trace of Grayson and Marissa from the house. Every photo, every trinket. Gone. Step 2. I called my lawyer. I need to file for divorce, I said flatly. And I want it airtight. He's not touching a cent. The lawyer, an older woman with sharp eyes and no patience for nonsense, leaned in. Everything in your name? Everything, I said. House, car, accounts. She nodded. Then we play clean. But firm. Next I blocked their numbers. Not out of weakness. Out of strategy. Silence is power. And I needed them wondering what I'd do next. That weekend I started training again. I hadn't hit the gym in months. Too busy playing caregiver. But now, every lift, every run, every drop of sweat was part of my reconstruction. Not just physical, mental, emotional. I was rebuilding me. Somewhere in the middle of a heavy deadlift, I realized something. Marissa didn't just want Grayson. She wanted my life. My house. My security. My structure. She'd gotten a taste of stability and decided she deserved it more than I did. That's when the idea came to me. Not just to move on. To burn the ladder she climbed. To make sure neither of them could ever feel safe again. I started digging. Quietly. Strategically. I remembered Grayson's laptop. The one he used for his writing. I'd caught him editing the same 10 pages for years. I hadn't looked at it since I kicked him out. But I still had admin access to his cloud. One evening I logged in. Nothing shocking at first. Random drafts. Google searches. A dozen abandoned outlines. But then I saw it. An email account I didn't recognize connected to his login. It was synced under a different name. Clicked it open. And what I found was gold. Messages between him and Marissa. Going back months. Some were flirtatious. Weren't. There were lists. Plans. Talks of her being gone soon. Messages about convincing her to take a trip. Getting her to sign something. Even one chilling line from Marissa. Once she's out, we don't let her back in. I stared at that sentence for a long time. They weren't just betraying me. They were plotting my removal. And that's when I decided. They didn't need punishment. They needed ruin. The next morning, I booked an appointment with a private investigator. His name was Dale. Ex-cop, ex-military, fully committed to truth and confidentiality. I handed him a flash drive with the emails. I want everything, I said. Bank activity, job records, where she's staying, what he's doing. I want to know if she ever had the virus. I want medical records. Track them both. He raised an eyebrow. You expecting to go legal? No, I said. I'm expecting to go smart. He gave a crooked smile. All right, let's make some ghost talk. While Dale dug into their past, I cleaned up mine. I made sure every document in my name was protected, changed passwords, closed joint accounts, locked everything down. But just as I started feeling one step ahead, a text shattered the quiet. It was from my mother. I just spoke to Marissa. She told me everything. How could you kick your pregnant sister out of your house? I stared at the message for a full minute before my fingers moved. Ask her who the father is. Grayson told us. He feels terrible. But the baby is innocent. She's your sister. I didn't reply. Not yet. I just leaned back in my chair and whispered to the empty room. Let them think I'm the villain. They had no idea what was coming. Later that night, Dale called. His voice was low, serious. You're gonna want to hear this, he said. I grabbed a notebook. Marissa's medical files? They don't show any treatment for West Nile. None. No hospital stays, no diagnosis. She wasn't sick, Celeste. I blinked. Are you sure? Positive. I checked every clinic within a 50-mile radius. Either she used a fake name or she lied. I whispered. It had all been a setup. The call. The tears. Moving in. Getting close to Grayson. She used illness to get into my house. This wasn't a mistake. This was premeditated. The final puzzle piece clicked. She'd never been sick. She'd just been clever. But not clever enough. Because now, she didn't know I knew. And when people feel safe, that's when they're easiest to destroy. People think revenge is one grand explosion. One perfectly timed slap. A confrontation in the rain, a big courtroom scene. It's not. Revenge is slow. Strategic. Quiet until it isn't. Dale had uncovered the first crack. Marissa was never sick. No West Nile. No records. Not even a prescription for vitamins. She had faked it, the virus, the frailty, the tremble in her voice, just to get through my front door. And Grayson? He was either too gullible or too weak to stop her. But I was done playing the victim. It was time to become the architect of their collapse. I started with Marissa. Using a friend's company email, I sent her a fake job posting, executive assistant to a high-profile interior design CEO. Great benefits. Remote work. Competitive pay. I knew she'd bite. She was always looking for shortcuts. Sure enough, 2 days later I got a ping. Her resume landed right in my inbox. And you know what jumped out first? She listed my address as her residence. That told me everything I needed to know. She was still pretending she belonged here. Still playing the game. So I opened the email. Responded professionally. Asked for a Zoom interview. When the meeting started, I stayed off camera at first. She showed up in full makeup, fake confidence, eyes darting like she was reading off a script. Then I unmuted. Hi, Marissa. Her entire face froze. Her lips parted. What? You're applying to a fake job from a fake company, made by the real woman whose life you tried to steal. She clicked off immediately. I sat there smiling. That wasn't revenge, not yet. That was just the tap on the shoulder before the punch lands. A day later, Dale called with more. Grayson staying at a motel off Highway 12. Paid cash. Weekly rate. Guess the writing career's not going well. I almost laughed. And Marissa? I asked. He hesitated. She's been staying with an older man. Real estate broker. Married. They've been spotted together a few times at a bar near downtown. My stomach clenched. Not from pain, from disbelief. She wasn't just a leech. She was a serial invader. And she'd already found her next host. I asked Dale for everything, names, dates, photos. You sure you want it all? He asked. This isn't going to heal you. I don't want to heal, I said quietly. I want to understand the enemy. And then came the twist I didn't see coming. That Friday, I got an email from Grayson. No subject. Just one sentence. We need to talk. I have something you need to know. I almost deleted it. But something in me itched. An hour later, we met in the most public place I could think of. A cafe downtown with glass walls and security cameras. He looked like a shell. Unshaven. Thinner. eyes bloodshot. Like betrayal had backfired on him and left nothing but ashes. Make it quick, I said, sipping my espresso. She was never pregnant, he said. I didn't react. I asked her for proof. Ultrasounds. Doctor visits. She always had an excuse. Wouldn't let me come. Said it was private. Then your mom gave you that ultrasound paper. Not Marissa. She claimed she lost hers. So the miscarriage? I asked flatly. He shook his head. Fiction. All of it. My throat burned. My chest didn't ache, it hardened. All those accusations. The guilt from my family. My mom crying in my office. All based on a lie. Grayson looked down. I'm not here to beg for forgiveness. I know I failed. I didn't know how far she'd take it. Let me guess, I said. It started with a look. Then a late-night conversation. Then one kiss and you convinced yourself it didn't count. He didn't answer. You were weak, I added. And weakness is contagious. She found your crack and slithered through it. He blinked like he'd just been slapped. I leaned in. But I want to thank you. For what? For confirming what I already knew. And for giving me what I needed to finish this. That night, I finally returned my mother's calls. She picked up on the first ring. Celeste. Thank God. Please tell me you're ready to make peace. She was never pregnant. I cut her off. Silence. What? You heard me. No baby. No miscarriage. No hospital records. Just manipulation wrapped in mascara and a trembling voice. But I saw the ultrasound. She printed it off Google. Probably the same way she faked her resume. I have proof if you'd care to see it. She didn't respond. I waited. And then she said the one thing that finally closed the door. Even if that's true, she's still your sister. No, I said softly. She's just someone I used to share DNA with. I hung up before she could guilt me again. That weekend I drove past the motel. Saw Grayson smoking outside, staring at nothing. I didn't stop. Just watched from the corner of the parking lot. A man who traded comfort for chaos. Love for lust. Home for a hallway with flickering lights. Then I went to the bar near downtown. The one Dale had mentioned. Walked right in. There she was. Marissa. Laughing. Hair curled. Wearing my old red scarf, the one I thought I lost. Clinging to the arm of a man at least 20 years older. His wedding band still on his finger. She didn't see me. And I didn't make a scene. I simply walked out. She had moved on. But she didn't realize I hadn't. Because I wasn't done. The final strike was coming. But it wouldn't be loud. It would be clean. Permanent. The next morning I sat at my kitchen table. Poured a cup of black coffee. Opened my laptop. And began writing the email that would destroy the last thing she had left. Her reputation. There's a moment when you stop caring if they deserve what's coming. You stop weighing the scale of right and wrong. You just do it. That moment? It came to me while I was staring at my laptop screen at 2:17 a.m., lit only by the blue glow of revenge. I typed her name in the subject line. A concern regarding Marissa Monroe, private and urgent. I sent that email to her new partner. The real estate broker. Married. Father of 2. I had his name. His wife's name. His office. Even the school his kids went to. You'd think that would feel heavy. But no. Felt like justice catching up. Attached were screenshots. Messages between Marissa and Grayson. The plan to push me out. The fake pregnancy. Even a screenshot from her resume where she lied about her education. It wasn't rage anymore. It was surgical. I hit send. Watched the little paper plane icon fly off. Then I exhaled. Slowly. Deliberately. She had built her whole life on illusions. And I had just shattered her mirror. I didn't stop there. The next day, I mailed anonymous packets to every firm she'd applied to. I used the fake job application she submitted to me, added notes. This individual has a pattern of fraudulent activity and interpersonal manipulation. Please investigate before considering her for employment. Was it cold? Yes. Was it true? Absolutely. And the final act? I wrote her a letter. Handwritten. No threats. No insults. Just facts. I mailed it to the last known address Dale had on her. It read, "You said you were sick. You weren't. You said you were pregnant. You weren't. You said you loved me. You didn't. You used my kindness as a ladder, and when you got to the top you tried to cut it down. But you forgot one thing, Marissa. I built the ladder, and I don't need it to climb anymore. See, no return address, no signature, just the truth delivered like a final nail in a coffin. But here's the part no one tells you. When you finally get revenge, it doesn't heal you. It just exposes what's still bleeding inside. That night I sat on the floor of my bedroom, lights off, wine in hand, shaking. Not because I felt guilt, because I remembered. I remember being 12 years old, holding a towel to my arm after Marissa accidentally slammed my hand in a door. She cried and said it was a mistake. I forgave her. I remember being 17, when she stole my journal and read it out loud to a group of friends at a sleepover. Laughed like it was a joke. I cried. She apologized. I forgave her. She was always chaos, and I was always the cleanup crew. Until now. The doorbell rang around 11:30 p.m. I froze. Then it rang again. I peeked through the peephole. It was her. Marissa. Soaked in rain, mascara smudged, face pale. She wasn't wearing makeup to impress this time. She looked real. Like a person whose castle had just been turned to rubble. Celeste, she whispered through the door. Please. I didn't answer. Let me in. Just talk to me. Please. I could hear her sobbing. I opened the door an inch. Just enough for my voice to reach her. Not enough for warmth to escape. You lost him, didn't you? I asked. The married man. She said nothing. You're being blacklisted from jobs now too, right? Her silence was a yes. Good, I whispered. Now we're finally speaking the same language. I messed up, she breathed. But I didn't know how else to survive. I wasn't trying to destroy you, You wanted my life, I said. And you almost had it. You almost won. I was scared. You were calculated. You cried on cue. You faked disease. Faked pregnancy. You knew exactly how to play mom. How to make me look cold. She leaned against the doorframe. I didn't know you could be like this. No, I said. You didn't know who I was without mercy. A long silence stretched between us. The storm above us cracked once, thunder like a warning shot. And then she whispered, you're going to keep punishing me forever? I paused. No, I said. This isn't punishment. She looked up, confused. This is release. I'm cutting the last thread. You're free, Marissa. Go be whoever you want to be. Just not with my name in your mouth or my life in your crosshairs. You're really done with me? I smiled. A slow, sad smile. I was done the moment you asked me to leave my own house. And then slowly, quietly, I closed the door. I didn't slam it. Didn't lock it dramatically. Just let it shut like the end of a song that's been stuck in your head for years. I leaned against the wood. Heart pounding. Not with fear. With peace. The next morning, Dale sent me one final report. Marissa had left the city. No note. No text. No goodbye. Just gone. I stared at the screen for a while. Let it sink in. Then I clicked delete. Not because I didn't care. Because I didn't need to watch anymore. That was the day I packed away the last photo of me and her together. We were little kids. At a beach. Sand on our knees. Smiling like nothing bad would ever happen. I placed it in a box. Taped it shut. Wrote one word on top. Before. Because now. After had officially begun. Some people think revenge is fire. But it's not. It's ice. Cold. Precise. Still. It doesn't rage. It erodes. And once it's done, there's nothing left to burn. It had been 2 weeks since Marissa left the city. No new calls. No blocked voicemails. No accidental run-ins. Just absence. And you know what? It was quiet. The kind of quiet I hadn't felt in years. I started sleeping again. Not the kind of sleep where your brain runs through every betrayal. I mean real sleep, the kind where your body finally believes it's safe. I stopped checking the hallway. I stopped flinching at doorbells. I even started humming in the mornings while making coffee. Healing doesn't look like a big movie moment. It looks like folding clean laundry without shaking hands. It looks like walking into your own house and not scanning the room for shadows. But then just when I thought the last page had turned, I got a letter. Not an email. Not a text. A real envelope. No return address. Just my name written in handwriting I hadn't seen since childhood. Inside was a note. Just one paragraph. I'm sorry I hurt you. I lied about everything because I couldn't stand living in your shadow. You always had what I didn't, strength. And I hated you for it. But now that I'm gone, I see it more clearly. You weren't lucky. You just refused to break. I hope one day I can say the same for myself. I read it twice. Once as the woman I used to be, and once as the woman I am now. The first version felt rage. The second? She just felt done. I didn't reply. Not because I didn't have anything to say, I did. But because silence was the only response that didn't reopen the wound. A few days later, my divorce was finalized. I stood in the courthouse, alone, clutching the stamped paperwork like it was a death certificate, not for Grayson, but for the version of me that tolerated less than I deserved. The judge asked if I had anything to say. I just said, I'm ready to be free. And I meant it. Grayson never showed. He didn't contest. Didn't even write a final message. Which in its own pathetic way was the best apology he could offer. That weekend I drove to a small town 3 hours away. I booked a cabin by a lake. No signal. No people. No expectations. Just me. And one single suitcase filled with clothes, a paperback novel, and a white envelope I hadn't opened in years. Inside was a letter I wrote to myself. Back when I was engaged. Back when I believed love fixed everything. I unfolded it with trembling fingers. Read the words of a girl who believed marriage would protect her. Who thought family meant unconditional loyalty. I read it. Cried once. Then burned it in the fire pit outside. Watched the ashes float upward like ghosts finally given permission to leave. That night I dreamt of my childhood home. But this time Marissa wasn't in it. Only me. In the backyard. Digging in the dirt. Planting something new. When I woke up I finally understood. Revenge didn't make me feel whole. It just cleared the rubble. What rebuilt me was the refusal to stay buried. The next month I did something spontaneous. I booked a trip to Lisbon. A city I'd always wanted to visit but never did because Grayson didn't like foreign food. I went alone. Tried port wine. Ate seafood by the water. Got lost on cobblestone streets and didn't panic. And at one point walking along the shoreline I laughed. Not a bitter laugh. Not a revenge laugh. Just a soft, joyful one. The kind that sneaks out when you realize you're still here. Still standing. And finally living for yourself. Back home I redecorated. Again. This time not to erase anyone. But to celebrate me. I painted one wall burnt orange, loud, warm, unapologetic. I replaced the bed. Changed the lighting. Hung a new photo in the hallway. A candid of me at the lake, hair in the wind, no makeup, just peace on my face. And under it I placed a small plaque. One I had engraved just for this. She chose herself, and that saved everything. The calls from family slowed. I never answered. Some bridges need to stay burned. Because what they never understood is this. Forgiveness isn't letting someone back in. It's letting yourself walk out. The last message I got from my mom came via voicemail. Her voice was tired. I miss you. But I don't know who you are anymore. I listened to it once. Then deleted it. She was right. I'm not who I was. And I never will be again. Because the woman I used to be, the one who said yes too much, who let guilt twist her spine, who thought being the bigger person meant staying silent. She died. She died the moment her sister looked her in the eye and said, "You need to move out so we can start a family." The woman who lives here now, she doesn't ask for permission. She doesn't beg for understanding. She doesn't let betrayal stay for dinner. She locks her doors, loves herself, and remembers everything. Because memory isn't pain. It's proof. And every morning when I wake up alone in a bed I paid for, in a home I rebuilt from the ashes of their lies, I remind myself of one truth. They lost me, not the other way around. And that's the sweetest revenge of all.